We just got a lot of great comments. I think we're ready to move on.
All right. And Richardson's going to tell us about the lectionary database.
Hi, folks. This is my favorite thing to talk about, and so I don't get carried away, I'm going to try to stick to an outline. And thanks to Valerie for giving us this opportunity to talk about one of Divinity's projects. This one is a very early one. It's been going since 1996. And what is a Revised Common Lectionary? It represents a major development in worship and spiritual practices of Catholic and Protestant churches. The result is that the majority of Christians worldwide are reading and hearing the same Bible text during Sunday worship, which unifies their worship experiences. Right. As you can see from this Google Analytics graph, Valerie mentioned this, the RCL had over 8 million page views in the last 12 months. And something that's real interesting, if you can see in your view to the far right of our of the graph, you see that mountain peak looking spike?
Easter.
COVID-19. It was after Easter is also definitely Easter. Valerie's right about that. Seasonally, there's always a peak. But when we compared it to the previous years, there was this big kind of spike. And we got it with our reference questions too, from folks who are spending time, reflective time, using the Revised Common Lectionary. Okay, now we're going to try and go live here. Here we are. And this is kind of our main page, which we refer to as our scripture text page, because in the center, it provides those biblical texts. We
can't see it, Ann.
Can't see it. Okay. Let's see. All right. In that case, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and go to the hard slides that I've got at the bottom. Hang on here. Okay. Here we go. And now y'all can see this? Okay. In the center of the page are the biblical texts, which we've spoken about, and they're a Hebrew Bible text, excuse me, sorry. A Hebrew Bible text, and then a psalm, and then a passage from Corinthians. That's a New Testament passage, and then the gospel, because the story of Jesus, the life and teachings of Jesus, is the core of the Revised Common Lectionary. And this site that was wonderfully coded by LTDS, and we're particularly grateful to Jody Gamble for her efforts in this and her support, it's a great site, but we all realize it's in need of refreshing as a more mobile-friendly and accessible web presence. And we're hopeful that'll come about in the near future. So over here on the left is our navigation panel that takes us through the 3 years of the biblical texts. Up here on the right are our utilities, some of which are very heavily used in our search box. And over on the far right is the list of the, and link outs to various tools that are our most heavily used resources. So we're going to take us through this by static slides. The first one that we like to highlight are the prayers that were written by Consultation on Common Texts. Biblical and liturgical scholars wrote these prayers, and we received permission to post those. And they have become really popular for a personal spiritual practice as well as for use in worship. The second item is, it seems like such a silly thing, but people in churches need to know what colors to use for their liturgical garments or at their the communion table or the lectern. And so they asked us, we had a lot of requests to build one of these resources, which we did, so that folks can come here every Sunday and find out what color they're supposed to be using. Now, the daily readings are our second most popular feature on our site, and these were also established by the Consultation on Common Texts in follow-up to the popularity of the Sunday lectionary. And every single day, folks can come and read scripture texts that relate directly to the focus on Sunday worship. We also have, LTDS helped us with some widgets, some coding, some link outs to external sites so that with one click, we feed the lectionary readings and they go into this the top screen shot there is from hymnmurray.org, which was a National Endowment for the Humanities grant-funded project. And so all they have to do is just click one, click two, and they can just pick out all the hymns they want to choose for Sunday. And the bar below it, you'll see there's a little Bible Gateway bar. That also feeds our scripture text into it with one click. And then you see to the right of that bar, it says New International Version. The version we have in the Vanderbilt site is the New Revised Standard Version. But you can, with that one drop down, choose Spanish language, Chinese, any English language version that you like. Okay, let's see. Print PDFs. This just, you're going like, why are we doing print? What is with this print thing? When we're also integrated in our practice with online resources. The fact of the matter is that when people go into church, the tradition is to pick up a piece of paper that helps guide them through worship. And pastors asked us, they said, we're just too busy to figure out how to put your scripture texts into a form that we can use in worship. And so we did what they asked. You know, we just created a number of different actually sizes so that we even have one that is for folks who are vision impaired with a very large font. And then our slideshows, this turned out to be a really popular resource. We only began it a few years ago. And I wish I could show you this live because what we do is collect art from around the world, and we try to put an emphasis on internet. Well, let's see, the ones that I can think of for this particular Sunday, we've got an image from Tanzania and an image from Ivory Coast, image from Hungary, a number of scriptural and spiritual images that we integrate with the text. And it's all packaged up in PowerPoint and in PDF. The PDF runs great on mobile, and the PowerPoint is just downloaded by pastors all the time, and they're really using it now. because now they can't hand out any paper products. Now they can't have worship in a space. Their worship is all virtual. And so they are using our revised Common Lectionary slideshows to support and inform the worship experience. Okay, now I'm going to go back up to where we would have been if we hadn't been able to go up. Oh, this is just, we also have a really wonderful feature. It's just our RSS feed, but it just displays so wonderfully in calendars. And people love this, that, they just put it in their iCals and their, Google Calendar, so that they can click every day or every Sunday and go straight to the scripture text on our site. Okay, now a little bit more about the art resources that we offer, because this has been a focus that originally began with a grant from the, actually it was the Luce Foundation through the American Theological Library Association, building this art database that merges into the lectionary. But this one is, this work that you're seeing right now, this Great Catch, is by the renowned Hispanic artist, John August Swanson. And we worked in tandem with a professor from Claremont Divinity School to receive Father Swanson's permission to add most of his works to our website, which was really a big plus for the Herd Library, I think. Now, about our collaborative efforts here at Vanderbilt, 3 years ago, a new professor of history of Christian worship, that's Professor Budway, reached out to us. And she said, we'd like you all to lead a discussion on the lectionary for her fall semester worship survey course, because she was already familiar with the Vanderbilt RCL. And so we have been very grateful to Chris Binda and Kashif Graham for teaching this class for us. And then in publishing, this is a really interesting project that one of our professors, y'all may know A.J. Levine, and then a professor from the San Francisco Theological Seminary, co-authored a book, and they wanted us to provide images for them, not just a reference in the print product, but to stand as an interactive portion of a workshop that they led with worship leaders, nationally, so that they wanted them to learn about the revised Common Lectionary art image database so that they could begin to use it in their own worship and teaching experiences. And then our most recent, we're always doing projects like this, but the most recent one, this course support, is Charlotte Liu initiated a project with Professor Siu for his Hebrew Bible classes, in which we're adding art images keyed to scripture texts and the lectionary, such as this Islamic image over here on the right from the book of Job. One of our most fruitful efforts over the year, collaborative efforts, has been the teaching and supervision of divinity students' special projects. And we'll just touch on one. Last year, we directed a student in her final project for religion and the arts and contemporary culture. And her efforts resulted in the donation of almost 100 images from a variety of contemporary religious artists, such as this Homeless Jesus, Kelly Lattimore painting that you see on the right. And then we have, like everyone, external collaborative efforts related to the lectionary. Just recently, the Emory Pitts Library folks contacted us because they have a lectionary metadata in their kind of their rare books collection. They've done a lot of digitizing of their images. And they asked us if we could please integrate those into the Lectionary website so that they would get higher visibility and be better used. And then let's just go down to academic publishing and religious publishing. We're contacted all the time by folks who want permissions from us and sometimes reference support for their own academic publishing, but in terms of using resources from the lectionary. And an interesting one is just, we haven't talked to them since COVID-19, but the Brill folks contacted us and they were interested in our icon class metadata that we have for about 1,000 of our images because they wanted to harvest that data and add it to their database. And then kind of in closing, there were a couple of collections that special collections has all these treasures, but there are two that we have integrated pretty heavily into the lectionary. The one that you see on top, these civil rights images from the Kelly Miller Smith collection of the 1960 protests. We've had those digitized for some time and they've just been seen thousands, hundreds of, I don't know how many thousands of times worldwide in association with the Year C Lenten readings with reflective commentary written by our students. And the one below, I just have to give a plug for this piece. This is this is book art, 7-volume set, 2 feet high. Each volume is 2 feet high, 130 pounds, this thing is. And it's kind of the, what would you say, apogee of copperplate engraving. It's an astonishing example of book art. And we worked with Special Collections and they took photographs, special high resolution photographs. And we've posted these online, kind of raising up this amazing book art object. And y'all should go by there. Anybody who has time, once we finally get reopened, you should go over there and ask those folks to pull it up for you so you can see it. And just thanks to the Divinity Library staff, Bobby, Chris, Keegan, Charlotte, Matt. Thanks for everything you do to support the Revised Common Lectionary.
Wow, thank you, Anne. You'll see lots of gratifying comments. It's, I don't know that everybody, even in our library, knows how important this resource is to the world. And you're the one that, well, you and all of your helpers are the ones who keep this going.